Hello and welcome to I Am Not Your Tour Guide, but I am your host, Starla Skelton. Today, I have two lovely guests that have built a strong relationship traveling abroad. They have lived and worked abroad, and they're here with us today to give us some advice and tips for anybody that is thinking about living outside the USA, and of course, to share a good travel story or two. So thank you, Brittany and Adam, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Starla.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
I feel like it's been 20 years, even though I know it hasn't. The last time we saw each other was in Guatemala, right?
Yeah.
Well, we did see you we came back to visit, and I think we would see you at the bar a few times.
Yeah, that's right.
When you were bartending, we'd come and hang out.
Yes. Okay, yes. Okay, we did see each other then. But yeah, but originally, just to let our listeners know, we all met each other in Guatemala, right? What do you remember about that trip? Like, what sticks out in your mind about that?
Gosh, a lot of different things. It was my first true international trip, so it was nice spending it with somebody. We actually went down there a couple of days before we met with you guys and went to a couple of temples, I believe. The biggest thing that I remember, the most memorable event, was when we went on a bus that had a whole bunch of chickens in it, and there was a guy hanging out the door saying, Antigua, Antigua, Antigua. And it was just an eye-opening experience, like all the way around. That was just the beginning, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little tiny stories that we still to this day. And I think, so Adam and I have been together, we're coming up to 12 years. And that was within our first year. So it's been 12 years since Guatemala. And I still have a lot of these little tidbits, like Porque No, the bar that we all absolutely adored.
Yeah.
And they opened on a Sunday for us because we asked them to, if you remember that.
Yes.
I think you had major hots for the husband.
So, he was an attractive man.
Yeah,
yes. I didn't realize he was married at first, but yes, very attractive man.
Married men are attractive. That's okay. I remember if she's listening, I'm so sorry that this is what happened, but she left that first night that we went on the volcano. We came back. That was unfortunate. And it kind of really set the stage how traveling can be scary to some people. I remember our bike ride, and we had your friend with us, Kelly, and she, her bike riding skills were not up to the hugest standards. And if you remember, this is still one of my most favorite things. She's riding down. We're all waiting for her at the bottom of the hill. And I think it was your friend Jacob, but we were all like, "You're doing great." And he's like, "Well, you're doing okay." I feel like fair.
That sounds like Jacob. Oh my goodness. And just to let you know, since that trip, I swear to God, everybody's just like a badass now. So the one girl you're referring to, she got married, and her husband literally traveled the world for a year. I mean, all over the place. I mean, she is like a world-class traveler now. I'm so proud of her. And then Kelly is doing great. She's like a boxing queen. She's like doing fights and Muay Thai. And I mean, she's rocking it. And then Jacob's living in Texas, owning his own bar. Like, it's so funny how our worlds have we've all grown since then, and done so much stuff, I mean, so that kind of transitions into you guys. When, like you said, Adam, that was like one of your first trips out of the country in Guatemala. So how, since then, how did you guys kind of look at each other at one point and say, "Hey, we should travel the world together"? Like, how did that come about?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Starla. Honestly, we were living at Brittany's mom's house for 6 months, and it was tough. It was probably one of the toughest times of our relationship, I want to say.
Yeah.
We're living with her and her two younger sisters, who were 12 and 14, maybe, something like that.
We were living there to save up to do something. We just didn't know what the something was.
Yeah.
Right.
We had previously talked about going to South Korea, and that didn't pan out. I was serving at a rinky-dink place that wasn't doing anything. So Brittany was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about not thinking I am going to Vietnam, and I would really like to continue this relationship with you, and I'd like you to go." And I was like, "All right, I'll do a little research on it or whatever."
Yeah. So a 6-pack of beer and 10 Google images later, he's like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we got a one-way ticket to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City.
Didn't have jobs, didn't know where we were living, except we had a hostel for a week. I think we had combined like $2,000 to $3,000 in our bank accounts. And
Wow.
I had read a blog and it was like, hey, if you come to Vietnam, you can get a job teaching English, but you're probably not going to get hired before. So just come here. And so that's what we did.
Wow. So how long did it take y'all before you got a job?
Days.
Yeah, it was within like the first couple of days we were there, but it wasn't like the best job. It was traveling around Ho Chi Minh City on a motorbike to like 15 different language schools, teaching 30 minutes of English here, 30 minutes of English here. I had to have Vietnamese people take me to different places because I had no idea how to get there.
Yeah, Google Maps was barely a thing, and then certainly not in Vietnam at that point.
Yeah.
He stayed at that job. Somehow I got a job as an English professor. Remember, I'm 23 with a degree in visual communication. And they're like, you could teach English as a professor. I was like, yeah.
Wow. So did you have to take any certification classes in order to teach?
We took a Groupon TEFL, and Adam had a degree in education.
I did not.
Adam had a degree in education, so he didn't.
Okay.
I took a Groupon TEFL and had my own college degree.
Wow. Did you have to study for that test, for the TEFL?
I mean, they're like, this will take 60 hours, and I think it took like 10. So.
All right. And so you passed it, and Adam, you had a degree in education already?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in special education, K through 12. So I was sought after. They did want me, but I didn't really know where to look at first. So we did that grind for probably like 6 to 8 months. Did not really like it very much. Had no friends, wasn't really grooving on it. And then Brittany put my application into a Korean international school in Vietnam. And that's when the magic started to happen.
Really? Okay. So how did that interview process go with a Korean school?
It was a panel of like 6 people, I think, and they made me do a mock lesson. And they were like, teach us as if we were kids. And I picked a PowerPoint, did something kind of easy, did my thing. And then I want to say I felt like I knocked it out of the park. And then I want to say within like an hour, 2 hours, they offered me the job as a 4th grade teacher.
Wow.
It was really nice.
That's awesome. And, even though I have a bit of a background in special education as well, I don't know this fact, so you can help me with this. Abroad, in Vietnam specifically, are there classes and programs and groups for special education?
So the school that we worked at, there really wasn't.
It really depends on the school you're going to.
Yeah.
There's tiers of international schools.
Okay.
Some are really elite and hard to get into as a student and a teacher, and others are a little bit easier, and some are just kind of a joke.
But as experience in international schools, there really isn't such thing as special education. It's mostly kind of swept under the rug, not really talked about, anything like that.
That's not every school. It's the ones we've experienced.
Okay. In Vietnam. All right. So how long did you guys teach in Vietnam?
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ho Chi Minh City, 5 years.
Yeah, I think we did. I did 4.5 years at the Korean International School. It was a dual language school. So I had a Korean co-teacher who taught all subjects in Korean, and then I taught all subjects in English.
Man. So looking back at it now, is it a memory in your head that you're like, that was such a great experience? Or do you look back and think, we should have done this differently? Like, how do y'all view it now individually? Like, Brittany, how do you view it now looking back?
Overall, it was hands down one of the best experiences I think we could have. I was the ages of 23 to 28. So I'm in like a great time of my life. We started off rocky, like you said, but then we made some of like the best friends we've had to this day. And when it was time to leave, I wasn't ready at that point. If you'd asked me 4.5 years earlier, I was like, yes. But we had a lot of really good years with a lot of really good friends. Everything's so cheap. So like no way could we live this way in the States at this age. Our apartment is like a penthouse apartment on the top of like we were in like a kind of an offshoot of Ho Chi Minh City, but like a 15-minute drive into town. Our school was located where we were. It was almost too much fun sometimes. Lush, you could say. There's a lot of drinking for cheap.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when you say beer is cheaper than water, it's true in Vietnam. It definitely, we couldn't be happier that we did it. And from there, we went to Cairo, Egypt for 3 years. And
oh my God.
having the juxtaposition of the two was interesting because they're pretty almost as different as I think you could get.
Wow. Oh, I can't even. I can't even. I'm like just even thinking about their cultures.
Yeah.
Just even visually in a book, I can't even imagine like living it. The two different cultures. I was going to ask you, Adam. Even so, in both places, how did y'all normally make friends? Was it once you started making them? Was it through your work, or was it through being social, or how did you meet most people?
So initially, it was through being social. We went down to this place called Boy Vien, which was.
Have you been to Vietnam?
No.
Oh, okay.
I want to so bad.
Yeah, you should definitely go there. But it's a party kind of central place. Definitely late nights there. And we made a couple of local friends, stuff like that. And it was all right. But the real change in that time was when I started working at the Korean school. And that's where we started making really, really heartfelt friends versus the ones on Boy Vien were just kind of drinking friends, not anything serious. Whereas the ones at the school, we ended up hanging out after work, doing stuff on the weekends, traveling with each other. And that's what really changed the time in Vietnam. And obviously when we went to Egypt, we knew the game a little bit better and we made friends right off the bat. We knew what to do and kind of how to play the game a little bit better.
Yeah. I want to add, when we talk about people who are living abroad, what kind of, what is something important they should know is that it's so much easier to make friends abroad than it is in the States 100-fold. I mean,
really?
I'm sure if you were in New York City or Chicago or something where it's a little different dynamic, but when you come to most of these cities, everyone has their friend group that they've had forever. It's hard to find people who are the same mindset as you after you've been traveling for so long. But when you're abroad, everyone around you is in that same, they want to make friends. They have this international mindset, and the friendships form really quickly and really closely.
Where were most of the people from that you became friends with?
They were mostly from the US and from Britain.
Yeah. Vietnam was a really nice, large,
a melting pot.
A melting pot, which I missed a lot. People. In Egypt, we were at an American school, an American international school. And so most of them were from the US.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I'll start with Adam. What was the hardest part about transitioning from Vietnam to Egypt?
I got to say the workload was definitely heavier. My workload at the Korean school was super easy. I taught for half the day and then had tons of planning periods, tons of stuff. And then I went into Egypt and I had a 5th grade class the first year, taught that. And then I ended up getting what they call learning support, which is kind of special education, kids who need help with reading and math. And then that was a little bit easier. But that was probably the biggest change, along with the food. The food was absolutely probably the best food I've ever had in Vietnam. It was fresh. It was good. You could go on the street and get food, whereas in Egypt,
$2.
Yeah, it was cheap. Whereas in Egypt, it was we ended up eating a lot of foreign food. And when we ate locally, it was at a friend's house or, somebody a local that knew a really good place to eat. Whereas their food there just wasn't my cup of tea.
Right. Brittany, do you feel was your job hard to transition as well? Did you have a bigger workload?
I did. Anybody coming from the kind of school we were at to this school would, because as Adam said, we had I was working in the same school as him the last 3 years of our time. So we had half a day of planning, which in teacher world is unheard of. So coming to Egypt, it was my own classroom and everything was my own. And so that was a lot more work. Adam and I view work a little differently. I'm a little more laid back and really appreciate a work-life balance. And he is a perfectionist when it comes to work. And so I think he's always why aren't you stressed? I'm why? Why be stressed? So it's really annoying. But the transition for me, the hardest, the food for sure. And culturally, I don't think Egypt is a place that I would recommend to everyone. It's very patriarchal, misogynistic. It would be a word. I don't want to like spew false facts. So, but at one point in Egypt, there was a huge thing going out, like a world survey that Egypt had one of the highest sexual harassment rates of the world. So I luckily had Adam with me, so I didn't really feel all of these things. But we had a lot of single girlfriends who were harassed constantly, and so it's sad because we met some wonderful people. We traveling wise in Egypt was some of the coolest stuff we've ever done. The history and the landscape. We both scuba dive, and so we did a lot of scuba diving, especially during COVID because we couldn't leave the country really. So we just scuba dove in the Red Sea like all the time. Best we've ever done. So
I gotta ask you both this: when you're scuba diving in the Red Sea, I mean, how many weight belts do you have to put on? Because don't you just like float on the top?
It's not super duper salty, but there is a lot of, I think there was a lot. I didn't think about that really.
There were a couple places we traveled to that you could almost float on the water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't bring our bathing suits for it, but the salt mines, where was it?
In Siwa. Yeah. So there's a lot of really great things about Egypt, and I don't want to like shit on their whole culture. But for me, it felt stifling as a woman, and that was pretty difficult.
Definitely. What brought y'all to Egypt in the first place? Just a job?
Well, we were at a kind of like a fork in the road when we were coming to our end of the time in Vietnam, and we had put out a whole bunch of feelers for a couple of different places, got ghosted with a couple of places that we thought would be a really good fit. And then we actually got headhunted by the principal of the elementary school. And she asked us to interview. And we're like, all right, Egypt, whatever. Why not interview? We don't have anything else going on. And then within that first interview, we started talking money and how much money we were making and what the cost of living is there and kind of like the benefits of being there. And it started sounding really good.
Yeah.
And I think we waited 3 days or maybe 2 days before we said yes to it. But we basically said yes, went home for a couple of weeks, got a whole bunch of stuff on Amazon. And then.
No, we went home for 6.
Did we?
Yeah, because this was in between the.
You're right. Because the
Vietnam school year where we were at ends in February. Yep. They do a calendar year. And Egypt was on like American's calendar. So they had August. So we had February to August off from work, which was really nice. And we did stuff in the around. But and
then flew out and we were there for
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Wow. So whenever you go to a place and you're like kind of weighing out cost of living to how much you're making, so I'm not asking you how much did you make, but if a listener is looking for a job overseas, whether it be Vietnam, Thailand, Egypt, how should they decipher? Like because if I was looking at a job over there and they only paid $25,000, I would think I'm not going over there for $25,000. But if it only cost you $10,000 to live, like how do you decipher what's enough?
Yeah, this was something when we talked about like when you were saying like what kind of advice would you give, in our pre thing. It's like I think if someone is looking to move abroad and teach, and move abroad in general, but focus on teaching, you have to really know who you are as a person and then kind of go into that, because there are a lot of schools that will pay for your rent. They'll pay for your bills. Almost all of them will pay for your flight over and like send you home every year. So you get a flight every year.
Wow.
And then sometimes you can get other kind of like stipends, but a lot of these are in developing countries or countries that aren't like, it's not like in France, you're going to get this. In Italy, you're going to get this. It's countries that don't have the same draw that others do. And you could get paid $35,000. I mean, we have friends that are in the Philippines and they're making literally hand over fist, but they're in Manila, which has its own hecticness. So some people want to go to Europe because it's beautiful. The culture is a little more like easy for you. So if you're someone who like maybe doesn't want that developing country, you want some more creature comforts, you need to, I think, really figure out what kind of person you are. And we're the kind of people who we're like generally positive. We can adapt. We have each other. That's a big thing too. And for some people, they'll come to these situations and they're miserable. And so if you go to Europe, you're probably going to be living paycheck to paycheck. But if you're having a great time for a few years, That's,
Right.
is it worth it to you? For some people it is, and for some people it isn't.
Right.
So,
do you have any specific advice, Adam, on people who are thinking about living abroad?
Well, I got to say, when we were in the situation of deciding to come to Vietnam, I was like eyeball high in student loan debt. And, I had no other way out. Teaching, I was actually taking a break from teaching because I wasn't like clicking with it. And when I went to Vietnam, it was like a new door had opened and the kids were absolutely amazing. I went from kids that didn't want to be in the classroom, that didn't want to learn, to kids that loved it. Like their whole entire culture revolves around education.
respect.
And the respect that they had for teachers there was just so nice and refreshing. It was great. And I got to say, even if you're like on the fence about it, like, they have 2-year contracts. Try it out, see what's going on. It absolutely changed my life. I didn't know it changed Brittany's life as well. And
you can't wait for the perfect time, because you'll never have a perfect time.
Very true.
Right. No, that's great advice from both of you guys. And I'm curious, on a personal level, have you two as a couple, you feel like you've grown in a positive light through all of these travels?
Absolutely. Definitely. I found out how long I could travel for. 5 weeks is about my travel time, which I was, when we started thinking about it in the beginning, I was like, that's so long, but it went by in a blink of an eye. It was so fast.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So I, of course, before we did this, I had stalked, Brittany, your social media page. And I know you guys don't really post a whole lot. You'll post something every once in a while, but I saw pictures of England, Egypt, France, Italy, Malaysia, Japan. I went to Guatemala with you, so I saw some old pictures that brought back some great memories. And the list goes on and on. It was like all over the place, it was just fun to even look through to see some of the experiences, or just a little glimpse of the experiences that you guys have had. So I'm curious, and I'll ask you this first. Like, what is the appeal to you, just in general, like your overall outlook on life? What's the appeal of seeing the world?
Oh, I mean, overall outlook on life. I think life is meant to have fun, and traveling to me is fun. It's adventurous. Even if we're backpacking or if we're going bougie, like, there's appeals to both. The older we get, the more bougie we want to get. So they have their time and place. And I love how it really lets me see the perspective from other people's views, see others' hardship and joy. It's not all good. Traveling isn't always great. Anyone can tell you bad travel stories too. But overall, like, I think it makes me I guess it's selfish. I think it makes me a better person to see how other people live their life, and to like be just a small part of it sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. What do you feel, Adam?
So I guess I didn't really know, honestly, whenever we first started out. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what we were going to be doing. And I got to say, the mystery of it, not knowing what's going to happen, or, just rolling with the punches, I think it's really fun to do that. But at the same time, like, getting to know some of these people that we met and the way that their culture is, it's crazy. Going over to a family's house and them inviting you in and having a huge dinner of food that you have no idea what it's going to taste like, but it's going to taste good because that's how they do it. That was definitely a really big eye opener for me. And also, like, I wasn't a traveler. I didn't know. I had no idea what traveling was, what it entailed, or anything like that. And then as we kind of stayed out longer and longer, Brittany would go on trips by herself occasionally. And by the end of the trip, I was like, man, I really probably should have gone on that trip with you. Or I wish that I would have gone on that trip with you. And definitely seeing the different places and, the different kind of things to do. Like seeing the pyramids of Giza was, I still can't even get over it. It's fun and it's good.
That's awesome. Did you take camels out there? I'm just curious.
We did. I got some pretty good pictures.
Yeah. And just like a quick travel story as an example, we were in Italy and we were on one of the towns along the Amalfi Coast in like a little B&B, and this family, they like own all this property and these and like part of it's on the Lemon Path. And
oh wow.
They have this once every like quarter get together, and we happened to be there that night. So they invited us to like, they had this huge like table. There was like 30 Italians, all family, and they were making us homemade pizza. They had wine coming out of their homemade wine cellar, fresh pasta. I mean, it was just everything you could imagine in a big Italian family, and we got to be a part of that for that night.
Man, that's awesome. Was there limoncello flowing after dinner?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Limoncello, wine, lots of everything. So.
Those are like the experiences you don't forget, when you're with other people. And, I think about this sometimes, even though your experiences were amazing and you have all these stories and you can sit at home on your couch now and talk about them. But do you think that traveling also gives you a greater appreciation for home?
Absolutely. That was kind of one of the reasons, the driving forces of why we came home, just because of the people that we missed. I'm very, very close with my family, and we were gone for almost 10 years. And it was really hard only being able to come back and see a snapshot of everybody's lives and then have to, take off. And it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. I would call my mom every month and talk to her, but like the rest of my family, it wasn't until I actually saw them, but we would pick up right where we left off, which is something that I definitely miss, and I'm happy to be a part of again.
With that being said about your family, and it just put a different perspective on home, just so our listeners know, you guys, where are you living at right now?
We're currently living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, like right almost on the edge of downtown.
Okay. And so y'all are back there now after living abroad for almost 10 years. So my question is, for each of you, and I'll start with you, Brittany, what do you think, besides family, what do you think was the hardest thing about being away from home?
I'm going to be like really bad about this because I feel like Adam's laughing at me. It wasn't that hard for me. I really liked it. I love my family. It's a lot. Adam has a very large family and mine's very tiny. So it's not hard to like stay connected. And I honestly at some points thought I would stay abroad forever. And just certain things, come around and you have to make decisions and stuff. But I won't lie, I didn't feel it wasn't that hard. It was like, of course, like we would go home once every 2 years, and I was like, wow, this is a long time. And so maybe when we were home, I was like, oh, this is so nice. But then it's like we go back out, and it's like, well, this is nice too.
You just adapt really well.
Maybe that's it.
She does.
But it was just. Maybe this is to say, all those, listeners, if you don't feel guilty for being away, that's okay too.
Yes, it is. Oh, totally. I mean, I love hearing both sides because I have a feeling Adam's about to not agree with you. Yeah. like it was hard for you, right? To be away from your family, or was there something even harder, or that was the hard part?
That was definitely hard, but a lot of like traveling around in the cities was extremely difficult. In Vietnam, we rode motorbikes. And it did take a little while to get to different places, and everything is in a foreign language. So you don't really know where, I don't even know. Like it took a little while to go to the grocery store. It took a little while to like kind of figure out who was going to service my motorbike. In Egypt, it took a long time to get anywhere. It was like 2 hours to get to this place, 3 hours to get to this place, 5 hours to get to this place.
It's Atlanta.
It was a lot. Like not knowing where stuff was, and not knowing like how, like whenever you come to America, it's easy. Like you can go to Meijer, or you can go to, I don't even know, like Walmart. I want to say it is. It's very easy to get the things that you need. Whereas like in Vietnam, they had streets, like an electronic street, and you have to go into every single business to find like an HDMI cord, or to get some kind of food that you really like. It's hard. It was hard to traveling around in the town. It was very, very populated.
So what you're telling me is that they just need a Target and you would have been fine.
Yes. If we had a Target, it would have been great.
I'll agree with that. That's a good point Adam made. It's a lot harder, but then it's like we came back to America and we were like overwhelmed by the amount of stuff after so long. We were like, who needs this much stuff?
When we went to Costco for the first time, and I had like a little anxiety because it was just so much capitalism in one place. And I was like, I don't know if I can go here. And then by the third time, I was like, I can't wait to go to Costco.
So you're adapting back into our culture.
Definitely.
Do y'all like, so now that you're back and you're living here and working, until you guys decide to move abroad again, which is that something that you do talk about one day in the future?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So while you are living here in the States, what do you miss most about living abroad?
I miss not having to look at my checking account and being able to do the things that I wanted to do. Like, you could do anything that you wanted and money was never a problem. When I came back to the US, there's so many bills and so many things they have to pay for. It's just, I don't have to check my account all the time, but I do have to like pay attention to it. You have to have a budget. Whereas in these other countries, there was no budget. Like, you didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff.
Man, that just sounds amazing. That sounds like a utopian society. What about you, Brittany? Like, do you just miss everything or anything in particular?
Definitely what Adam said. And I miss the ease of traveling to different places.
Yep.
In Vietnam, we would take $50 round trip tickets to Bangkok. It was Cambodia, $100. Philippines is $100, and it's like here, just trying to even fly to Atlanta, it's at least $300. So I definitely miss, and we have talked about wanting to see more of the States for sure. But it's so expensive to do that. And so the ease of traveling it's harder. Our country list is going to go way down for a while.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Y'all are still together, spending time together, doing life together. That's totally fine. And I do. I'm all about whenever you can and what you can afford. There's so many beautiful places here in the United States. Just incredible. I was just talking to somebody the other day on another podcast about Zion National Park.
Yep.
I don't know if y'all have been out there yet. Have y'all been out there?
No, my brother was there and he said really good things about it.
Oh man, just what a beautiful place. You do feel like you're in another country there, but again, like you said, it's not just like you're paying $25 for a flight.
Yeah. We need a real budget airline to come in.
Right? We need an AirTran to come back or something. I don't know. I don't even remember why. Didn't AirTran, did they have problems? Why did they go out of business?
I don't even know who they are.
You don't know who AirTran is?
Maybe
oh my goodness.
Our time away.
That just shows my age because I was a flight attendant for them for like 3 days. That was like a long time ago. Okay, so just to wrap up this portion of living abroad before I do want to get into a couple of y'all's stories, but overall, just I know you've kind of given some pointers since we've been on here, but if somebody does want to teach abroad, like that's something that they're looking for specifically, do you recommend them doing any sort of rec work before they go out there, or does it just depend on the country?
What is the name of that company?
Yeah, I definitely recommend doing
Search Associates,
some things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really recommend going to Vietnam to teach English without a job or any money anymore, but it can still be done. If they're already like established teachers, there's no need to do that. You can find, there's like a ton of reputable one is called Search Associates. I'm like, but just like companies that help you connect you to other schools, and then the school will interview you.
Yeah, recruiting service.
Recruiting, great, yes. And
okay.
So they would go there and start to put their resume in. They usually, like, a lot of them you pay for, but then they'll put someone with you to help you, and they have job fairs. And if you want to teach abroad, you absolutely will the next school year. It's just how open are you to different places.
Okay. And right now, just because I'm sure y'all keep up with the buzz, are there any particular countries that you've heard that are hiring right now, or just you think anywhere?
Anywhere, almost.
Yeah.
It's harder to get into the European ones. If it's your first time teaching abroad, it can be difficult. So in that case, it's like, if you're okay with China, like, you can always find a job there. places in Vietnam, Thailand, probably a few different countries in Africa. But if you like are really like, I'm moving abroad, I don't care where, you will find a job.
Whenever y'all do move abroad again, years down the road, have y'all talked about where? Or are y'all just gonna kind of like put some names in a hat and draw? What are y'all thinking?
We definitely had a conversation about it. We're talking about South America to kind of stay in the same time zone and make it one flight that's not 27 hours long. But I don't know. We were talking about Panama being a possible place to retire. What else did we talk about?
Yeah, I think depending on when we decide to go back out abroad will really depend on where we look. So there's a lot in Africa we didn't get to do because of COVID while we lived in Egypt. And I'm really like gutted about a lot of the places we didn't get to go. So it's kind of like if we could get a job in one of those countries that was like really reputable, that would be fun for like 2 or 3 years just to kind of get to do a lot more in the area. But if it's like further down the road, then maybe it would be South America just to kind of have more closeness to the family.
Right.
And then it would be like Peru could be awesome, Argentina, Chile, Bolivia. We're pretty open. We probably would be at the point where we need a little more modern amenities again. So thinking about what city could offer that.
I love both of you guys like together as a unit that you have just decided to travel the world and live abroad and now you're living at home with family or near family, which is just to me as important. You're just in a different season in your life, but I love how adventurous you are and how you're just like, hey, we'll get a job, we'll do it. And so that being said, that I love a good story. Like I'm all about the travel stories. Like as soon as you started talking about Guatemala's travel stories, I'm like, yes, like just to like relive it. So I'll start with Adam because your name starts with an A, and then I'll go with you, Brittany. But Adam, what's like a travel story that's happened these last 10 years since y'all have been going at it that like really just stands out in your mind?
So there are so many of them, and it's kind of hard to pick one. But while we were in Egypt, we did a lot of diving in the Red Sea because it was the only place we could go. And we went on these liveaboards, and they were huge yachts and absolutely amazing. Had everything you would ever want on there. Food was amazing. The people on there were amazing. It was like a really great time.
Do you know what a liveaboard is?
I was waiting for a break so that I could interject. Yeah, I have no idea. What is it?
So it's a yacht-sized boat. And what it is you stay out at sea for between 5 to 7 days in a row, and you don't come back to shore until the end of it. So you're at sea.
Sleep, dive.
Yeah.
Sleep, dive.
So you're out at sea the entire time. And one of the dives that we did, we had to get there at a specific time, but there was, they say there's a resident group of hammerheads at this one area. So we were all excited about going diving in there. And, we ended up seeing a couple of different types of sharks, but that hammerhead was the big one that I wanted to see. So we ended up diving like 3 or 4 dives, didn't see anything. And then finally,
you're out in the blue, by the way, you're just staring at the blue. Waiting.
There is no like there's coral, but it's like very far away and you have to kind of swim out from it a little bit. So we were swimming out from it and everybody's like, you can't talk underwater. And sure enough, there's a hammerhead. And what it was it's a sentinel. So it comes out away from the group and kind of just checks you out to make sure that you're all right. And then the rest of the hammerheads will, kind of swim by or whatnot. Well, we didn't see the rest of the hammerheads, but this one came and it played with us for a little while. And it was kind of
not
swimming
physically.
It was kind of swimming around us. And I got like maybe 10 feet away from it. And it was swimming around and it started going lower. And me and my friend Andrea, we just kind of started going down with it. And I had my GoPro and I was like taking this video, and we went down a little bit lower than the group that was with us. And it got so close to us. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful shark. It was so cool. And it was like one of the most memorable interactions that I've ever had diving in my entire life. Like I've never seen anything similar to that, or been a part of anything like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. How big was this hammerhead?
I think it was between 6 and 8 feet long.
Man, so bigger than you. You
Yeah.
felt its power.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was crazy how its eyes are on the side of its head, and then it has a smaller like dorsal fin than other sharks, but it just kind of swam right up to us, was curious.
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just
Swam around us.
Yeah. So agile. What? They're so agile and graceful.
So did it leave you or did you leave it?
It ended up leaving us.
It was a little of both. We were running out of down, underwater time. We were getting close to Deco.
Man, what a cool experience. That's really, really neat. Is that the largest shark that you've ever dove with?
I would have to say so. Earlier in the trip, there was another place that we went to that had these sharks called oceanic, and they were pretty big. But
we saw one.
We didn't get real close to that, and it was kind of swimming away from us. That might have been about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger. But that was like the only other kind of interaction that we had with sharks. And then we ended up doing the trip again, trying to get other sites of hammerheads, and we didn't see it.
We saw thresher sharks then.
Yeah, we did see other types, but no more hammerheads, but it was good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. On your on you guys' bucket list, is one of the things to swim with whale sharks?
We have.
We checked
that. That's so cool. Where at?
In the Philippines.
Yeah, we went to Philippines and we didn't do any scuba. We just kind of did snorkeling with them, and I got some pretty good video. It was back when I was using like a camera that had like a plastic bag over it. And it was like really bad footage, but it was still huge.
My GoPro died, so we didn't get that.
Shark, this huge Buick 8 coming out of the murk and going like right towards you, and then it would like slowly go away from you. It was very graceful, very, very majestic. It was a beautiful, beautiful fish as well.
Wow, that's awesome. I love all of your scuba diving encounters. Do you think is that you two's kind of favorite pastime hobby, or just something you like to do in different countries?
I'm going to say it's kind of grown into a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
Like Red Sea is probably one of the best places to go diving, and it was our backyard for a good little while. So we ended up doing a lot of it, and we're actually going to go to Belize in December and do a little bit of diving there. So
y'all gonna go to the Blue Hole?
Yeah, we've heard it's actually not that cool, but I think it's just part of the package we bought. So
no, you should. I have never personally done it. My brother Ryan did it. He loved it.
Okay,
he loved it. Yeah, he thought it was great. I think he actually saw hammerheads there.
Oh,
I think he did. Reach out to him and ask if they have any suggestions. But he went and he told me he loved it.
Okay.
So I think y'all I'm sure y'all have a blast anywheres, but that sounds fun. That sounds a lot of fun. So okay, Brittany, what does your story that sticks out, what does that entail?
We talked about this so much because it's like what makes a story versus just like a quick adventure versus like how do you define them. I'm gonna have a quick first story, because when we were talking about Guatemala, the one thing I really wanted to say, do you remember, is that Ferris wheel we went on?
Yes! Scariest Ferris wheel of my life.
It was driven by a semi-truck engine that shifted gears, and we were all like, let's go. And it's like, it went like 100 miles per hour forward, and then it would stop and go 100 miles per hour backwards.
I'm crying thinking about it, because it was one of those moments where I'll never forget. I peed my pants. Like, I legit peed my pants, because I think y'all two were sitting together, and then me and Kelly and I were sitting together, and I think we just, like, even though we knew how it was driven and how crazy it looked, until we got on it, I don't think we realized how crazy it really was. And I just remember laughing so hard and thinking, I might die on a Ferris wheel. What a story is that? And I peed my pants that day. I remember it like it was yesterday.
It's so good. There's like videos will pop up on Facebook sometimes. I'm like, holy shit, we just did this.
I need for you to tag me in it next time it pops up. I haven't seen that video in a long time.
It's so good. I will.
Oh my
that
God.
was just a quick interjection because
I love that memory. Thank you for that.
And then I don't know if I have so much a story as just kind of like, I said that between Vietnam and Egypt, Adam and I had 6 months off. And he was like going to go hang out with his family, and I did for a little bit with my family, and then I was like still like itchy to use this time, and I went to South America by myself. So it's kind of like a story that's also like, hey, ladies, whoever's listening, like it's okay to travel alone, and it's not that scary. I can't speak for every single person. I've kind of like, maybe sometimes have a different attitude, but like, it's just kind of the story of, I went to Colombia for 5 weeks and Ecuador for 3. I never was alone. I made friends, and then we would travel with those friends. And it was just some of like the most beautiful experiences with these people who I will probably never see again, but it was such a special moment at the time. The story I could share is I was at the Amazon, and we were swimming in one of these lakes. And it's a lake where you could swim during the day because the caiman don't swim in the lake during the day. I don't know how to know that, but that's what they told us. So we're swimming in this lake that doesn't have caiman, but if you go next door, they do. And there's like a couple of us in the water, and I go to get back up on the canoe, and I push down really hard, and my GoPro is around my neck, and it snapped off, and it just sank to the bottom of the Amazon. And it had that was the end of my trip. And so it had all of Colombia on it. It had the Galapagos. It had I went parasailing in Medellin. I went to the desert beach of Colombia, Cartagena, Bogota. It had everything. And I just got on the canoe and sobbed. And everyone on the canoe was looking away, really awkward. And I just was so sad. But
all of your memories. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was that was the second time I had, we also had a GoPro, both of our GoPros stolen out of a van and one of our trips in Vietnam. That was sad too. But that was more of I just want to say South America, everyone, aren't you scared? Isn't it scary? And I'm I'm not getting blackout drunk by myself and walking the streets, but it's just, I want it to kind of be a story of, hey, women, do it. Yeah. You can do it. You've done it so much, Starla. Go for it. You'll meet friends. Just be open, and you're never too old to travel alone.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I love that you brought it out and are building awareness on that, because I 100% agree with you. And I was having this conversation the other day with somebody. It's not like we're going out there and acting a fool, right? You're alone, you're hyper aware, you're aware of your surroundings and your situation. Guess what? Here in Atlanta, I'm not walking the streets at midnight, so I'm not in Cartagena either. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's the same things I would do here as far as safety goes, as far as locking my doors, as far as being around people I trust when I'm drinking, same shit I do here, you just do it in another place. I'm saying, and I think
we did, but we did it with a good group of people.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. With a group of people, with people that you trust or that you feel comfortable around, for sure. But I can't blame people for being scared, because if they haven't done it before, I get it. There might be apprehension. There might be apprehension if they went as a couple. Who knows, whatever you were raised around and what you believed in or what you've been, taught. But for me, I was very lucky, and I'll say lucky because it's luck that I have really good parents, and they were always like, hey, you can do it. Just be careful. Just be aware of what's going on, your surroundings. You can do it. So I did have that motivation. So I do feel lucky that I've experienced traveling alone, but thank you for talking about it, because I hope there are some women out there that think, hey, I've been a little terrified. This does sound a little scary, but I'm going to do it anyways. That's where the learning and the growth and really the fun and adventure come in. This has been so much fun. You guys are the kind of travelers that you have a humility about you that I don't think you realize you have, because you're just so cool and so laid back. But then at the same time, you lived abroad for 10 years and you swam with hammerhead sharks. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, y'all are pretty cool. Like, you probably have the best stories at any barbecue that you're going to.
Thank you.
But nobody wants to hear it. So we just talk to each other about it.
That's a whole nother podcast. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay. I think that's why I love talking so much on this podcast and listening to your stories, because I do want to hear it. Like, it's just fun. It's fun to hear what you went through and what you did. And you just, I know traveling is getting easier and easier, but to live abroad for 10 years, that's still a big feat. That's a lot of time away from your friends and family. And so I think that's something that's still a little taboo, right? Like, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially being back in the States, people we meet, they're like, you what? You did what?
Yeah. There's been a lot of that. A lot of people like, where did you go?
Yeah.
Wow.
Even Adam and I meeting was like, we were both living in cities we had never lived in until recently, and we met. So it all started from a place of confusion and disorientation.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for taking your time and sharing your stories. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was great seeing you too.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great night. Y'all are awesome.
You too.
All right. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
We remind you that this is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is prohibited on the entire aircraft, including the lavatories. Tampering with, disabling, or destroying the lavatory smoke detectors is prohibited by law. If you have any questions about our flight today, please don't hesitate to ask one of our flight attendants.